Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Let me be crystal clear and unequivocal. This legislation is unacceptable. It is a step backwards, and it does not promote principles we have stood for in Georgia around broad access to voting, around voter convenience, about ensuring election integrity. And this is frankly just a step backwards.
That's the CEO, as you can tell, of Coca-Cola, James Quincy. To be honest, if you're a CEO, and we've talked about it for quite a long time. I think, look, I don't toot our own horns, but we're more forward thinking. A lot of others are reactionary, and we've talked about for several years on the show CEOs that we talk to, and because I'm fortunate enough to work in the business world outside of this, with we talked to a lot of them. In fact, last week we were on the phone and working with a CEO that is mighty powerful. And we've talked about it before, because we'll talk about our business and the other things that we do. But then and usually I'll chat with some of them, and they'll say it's the woke world. They don't want to be involved in it, right? Because what happens is one side jumps in and they push. And then they have to feel like they have to react, right? Because if they don't, they're insensitive. And, it's like all they want to do is sell their product. They want to sell their Coca-Cola. They want to sell their widget, whatever it is. They don't want to be involved in this stuff, right? Like, I'm building a product. I don't want to know, okay, well, like, I found out later on the guy that programmed this is a neo-Nazi or hates white people and Christians and wants them all dead. So now my coder did this. You can't buy this because they don't want any part of any of this stuff. They don't. They want to sell their product. Their competition should be the other products, but instead it's the wokeness of the world. So if you say, hey, pull baseball and everything else out of Georgia because of the Georgia new voting laws, right? So we got to go do that. So you're going to pull that out. Then the conservatives scream, hey, why aren't you boycotting the Olympics? Why are you being involved in all these why are you selling your products other places where bad things are happening? And they're like, oh my God, now I can't sell my drinks anywhere. All I wanted to do was sell my drinks. That's all I wanted to do. I feel now like I have to, first and foremost, be the woke warrior. And once you give in, it never ends. It doesn't. Sports. 1 in 3 Americans are watching less sports. On what? Social justice and preaching is the reason they're saying they don't want to watch sports anymore. They don't. People are over. One of the reasons LeBron James is the battle with LeBron. It used to be is who's better, Michael, LeBron, Michael, LeBron. Who do you think's better? It's Michael. It's LeBron. It's Michael. It's LeBron. Well, Michael never lost, and Michael, but at the same time, LeBron, outside of 1 or 2 times, he's never really been surrounded with, superstars. He doesn't have a Scottie Pippen. He's had some running mates, but he took Cleveland to the championship. And it used to be about what's now. Now, LeBron, he's an expert on everything from China to racism and everything in between. And you got the conservatives that come after him and the battle that goes on. And now it's like, who's better? Well, Michael, he just never really said anything. So people are just like, I like Michael. Because LeBron rankles people, which is fine. People use their platform. They do. They use their platform to speak out in injustice, and I get that. But you also are going to have to understand, you use that platform to speak out. People are going to use their platform, no matter how small it is or how big it is, to also speak out. People just want to sell their products. Corporations are now being dragged into things they don't want to be a part of. They don't. They don't want to be a part of. Look, I'm in the talk radio world. I'm going to pull back the curtains. Normally I don't do this. I'm going to pull back the curtains today. I'm lying. I always do it. I tell everybody everything. So my business, it's tough business when it comes to not ratings. I'll tell you guys right now, I'm one of the top probably 15 or 20. I know, it's crazy, right? In the country as far as audience size. But advertisers that are what you would consider the mainstream in a lot of ways kind of shy away. And the reason's simple. They don't want the controversy. They don't. They want the audience, but they don't want the controversy, in the sense that it's not whether or not you say something controversial, hence the reason you've got the audience. It's the reaction of some people in the audience that allow them to not want to advertise a place like this. They just don't. And it's frustrating. It is frustrating for me and a lot of others that I talk to who are genuine, who are real, not the ones who are just out to throw flames and get as flamethrowers and get as many as possible. The people to look at them and to argue about them. But the reality is people just want to sell their products. Some people out there want to do good. But most importantly, Coca-Cola didn't start like, I got a great idea. Let's do this thing. We're going to call it Coke. It's going to be fantastic for people. Put a little cocaine in there. It'll be great. And then, and then we'll be able to be social justice for us. They want to sell their product, right? Somebody's making tires. They're making tires. Right? That's all they're making is tires. But it doesn't matter. People want to go to the corporations because at the end of the day, it's about money. And if you could hurt people in the wallet, they're more apt to change. But when you give into them once, they're going to expect you to give in every time. And that's the frustration that people have, both on the right and the left. And the left, look, the right at times back in the day in particular always tried to like people say, what about they canceled the Beatles? Yeah, of course. There was a lot of times that it's indecent. Okay. Never worked, though. Right? The right was never really good at it because most of the time, classic liberals and people who are conservative are like, yeah, you know what? I don't want to cancel anybody. I want to have free market and the choice to choose something. And I don't want that to be based on, a lot of this stuff. But it doesn't matter now. Now they're not worried about a downturn in an economy. They're not worried about a situation where they may see their stock take a little bit of a hit here or there because they didn't meet profit the way that they thought to. The dividends aren't going to be big enough. The shareholders and the board are going to be a little bit upset. But you know what? That's part of doing business. Now they're worried about waking up tomorrow and finding out that somebody who was on their board said something 25 years ago or tweeted something. And oh, my God, now they've got a full-blown crisis. And people are saying, don't buy Coca-Cola, don't buy Pepsi, don't buy Bridgestone or whatever it is. It's nuts.
I'm not talking about political contributions. Most of them contribute to both sides. They have political action committees. That's fine. It's legal. It's appropriate. I support that. I'm talking about taking a position on a highly incendiary issue like this and punishing a community or a state because you don't like a particular law they passed. I just think it's stupid.
Yeah. And because you go global now, you're going to be faced with conservatives saying, well, fine, you know what? We'll boycott you as well. Don't buy Coke. Now Coke is stuck in the middle of something. And Mitch is right. You go look and see, the unions will always give to the left, right? Minus the police unions, but 90% of it is going to go to the left. But when you look at major corporations and you go look at, I think it's opensecrets.org, you go look and see, and most of them give to both sides. Because their whole thing is, man, one of you guys is going to be in power, and I'm going to have to go court some power. We're going to have to talk to you about stuff, and then we'll go from there. I really don't care what side you're on. I just want you guys to get out of my way so I can do my business and sell my widget. My Coca-Cola, my Pepsi, my Bridgestone, my whatever. And none of it's based in reality. That's the other side of it. So much of it's based in knee-jerk reaction. It is nuts. We're going to talk a lot about this today because it's, I just sit there and shake my head. I sit there and shake my head because this is where we are at this moment in time. And it's great political fodder, but who gets hurt? Who does? People who work at these places, people who produce these products, the communities that will be affected by this, because we're going to hold you responsible for what? For something that you think is wrong, but the state has every right to do? Whether or not you think it's right, is it legal what they're doing? That's a fair question. Like everything else, it's about legality at this point. And if you don't like the law, that's when you put other people in place who will fix the law.
I mean, the more people that get vaccinated, you're going to see the level of infections go way down. That's just going to be a natural consequence of getting a lot of people vaccinated. So we're doing very well. Each day that goes by, you have another 3 to 4 million people vaccinated. You're going to see a greater diminution in the number of cases and a greater freedom and flexibility in what people can do.
Yeah, which is live their life. basically 80% of the a majority of what's going on right now as far as who's sick and catching this is coming from 5 states. All right? I mean, that's kind of where we're at this moment in time. And I think people realize that. We are doing a bang-up job comparatively to a lot of other places. I spoke to a guy yesterday, Gus Farrell's his name. If you guys don't know who he is, he used to be a backup quarterback at ASU back in the day. But now he's a world-famous opera singer. He lives in Barcelona. He was talking to myself and my other on-air partner, Gatos, yesterday. We were chatting about what's it like in Spain. And he says to us, it's getting really, we were kind of getting used to the cage. And I said, well, what the hell does that mean? Not only were they not allowed to go outside for a long time, when they were allowed to go outside, they weren't allowed to leave their city or their county. They couldn't go out together. And they're getting close to being back in a situation again where that may happen. Restaurants still aren't open at dark. Curfew was just extended, I think, till 10 o'clock. So before it was like 8. And oh, by the way, they're so far behind on vaccinations. It's incredible. And I was like, wow. But that thing he said about we were kind of getting used to the cage, that's a scary thing. It truly, truly is a scary thing when you think about that. We live in a chaotic, crazy world, but most of the time it's because we have leaders that, quite frankly, are more donkeys than they are lions. But thank God we have a Constitution that protects us from a lot of different things. And yes, well, sometimes people out there overstep in a lot of different ways. Man, I'll tell you what. For as much as people bitch about America, I'll take it every day of the week. And Sundays, too. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Fauci. Yeah, I think we're going to get there. Look, 5 states have issues. 5 states. And look who's getting sick. Look at the numbers. As long as the death toll's staying down, we're going to be all right. All right? We're going to get out of this thing sooner rather than later. And April and May are looking like this thing is going to wrap itself up in the way that we saw it last year. We're going to put a bow on it, at least, I would say for now, because you never know what's going to happen, right? The variables are crazy. Damn. Feel good. Love it. Wake up. Freedom. Enjoy that. Liberty. Love it. And the cancel culture world, or as I call it, the punishment culture world, we need to push back. You want your civil war? As everybody so wants, that's where your civil war's at. That's where it's at. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Like I said, if you want a civil war, if it's an app, everybody's all in. And it is. And that app is Twitter. Absolutely. Rough Greens. K9 VitaSmart. Amazing. Give it to my dogs every day. Told you yesterday, give it to my tortoise, and I gave it to Winston. Winston's a finicky eater, so he doesn't always eat anything. So he's not great, but the tortoise loves it. But I'll tell you what, my dogs eat it up, and they lick the bowl clean. Try it for yourself. K9 VitaSmart from Rough Greens. They're going to send you a bag for free. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics. It's going to help with everything. Your dog has joint pain. You watch what happens. Give it a week. You're going to see a difference like you couldn't believe. A year into what I have with my dog Doodle, his life is transformed. His arthritic hips, fatty tumors, he has no problems anymore. Try it for yourself. Roughgreens.com/Chad, RUFFgreens.com/Chad, or call 833-MyDog77, 833-MyDog77. You pay for shipping. They'll send you the bag for free. Rough Greens, make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show, where we reach across the aisle and occasionally poke someone in the eye.
Something else to blame on the pandemic, ketchup can't catch up with demand. The Wall Street Journal reports there's a shortage of the tasty tomato-based topping. With so many restaurants switching to takeout and including packets of the condiment in order after order, supply chains can't keep up with the ketchup. Some establishments are using generic versions, others are hitting up big box retailers and buying up entire shelves. And if they're lucky enough to find ketchup packets, the cost is up 13% since January 2020.
Yeah. But everything is up. Everything. everything is up. Life is more expensive. You see that at the gas pump right now. Life is more expensive and everything that we buy, because there's a domino effect, right? Gas prices up, therefore cost of doing business is up. Why is that? Because the people that are transporting your goods somewhere are paying more to do so. Who do they pass that off to? They pass it off to the customer. It all has a place in the supply chain. When something rises, and at the end of the day, that lands where? It lands on us. And groceries, we're seeing it.
Whether you're buying your groceries and other staples online or in stores, it's not your imagination. Costs are climbing. According to the latest government data, the price U.S. consumers pay for groceries is up 3.5% over the last 12 months. For a family of four, that could be as much as $500 more a year on everything from cereal to dairy to meats and eggs.
Yeah. So you think about that for a second. How much have you paid for stuff? And producer Phil, you were telling me, was it a chuck steak? What were you
chuck steaks, chuck roasts, and flank steaks are up astronomically.
What would you normally, like a year ago? What would you have paid for that for a chuck?
Maybe $14, and now it's twice that price.
It's insane, but it all adds up. You think about if you normally spend, say, for 2 weeks you spend $300 at the grocery store. I'm thinking family 4, things like that. But last year you paid, $250. It's $100. That's $1,200 in a year that you've seen your prices rise. Then you look in gas and look at everything else. All of those things start to add up. And when you're already riding a fine line, you start to realize, wow, things have bumped. And gas is a perfect example where you see it go up. So when you see gas prices go up, know this. It's not just the pocketbook at the pump. Every time you go purchase something, you're probably going to pay a little bit more for that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
The defense is seizing an opportunity during testimony from Nicole McKenzie, a medical support officer for the Minneapolis PD, to make its case that the crowd gathering around the incident was a distraction and a threat, keeping Chauvin from rendering aid.
Have you ever had to perform emergency services in not even a hostile crowd, just a loud, excited crowd?
Yes.
Is that, in your experience, more or less difficult?
It's incredibly difficult.
And the defense arguing narcotics, like those found in Floyd's system, could make a person stronger and more difficult to subdue.
Well, that's true. And there's no doubt about that. And the chaos, of course, is true. I think we all know that. You ever been in an emergency situation, people react in different ways. Even if they're best intention and nobody's hostile, they all react in different ways. And yes, drugs do. Usually, you go back to the day when you talk about, 70s and 80s, really with like PCP, angel dust. The person would go from nothing to, having a strength like 10 men, right? It's like, whoa. Now, I don't know what he had in him that would do that. Fentanyl, but it's just all of those things may kind of be true. But right now, the defense in the Derek Chauvin case just feels like we're doing our best to get him manslaughter. Like I said, second degree murder is right now, it's staring him right in the face. And I think he knows that. Third degree murder, the far off way would be manslaughter. But so much of what's going to take place in the coming days is going to be about the medical examiner's report. The original one essentially said he didn't die from suffocation. He didn't. Well, if that's true, right? If he didn't die from suffocation and somehow that person, the medical examiner, is able to stand up in court and win over one or two jurors with that, then what are you going to say? This is going to be a hang jury, because that's all you're looking for is one or two to flip the script to make it a hung jury. And I've said, once this thing started, the most important thing is going to be those two battling medical examiner's reports. So once the autopsy was done, remember, so they had arrested him, they'd done all these things, and it came out, well, this medical coroner report said he didn't die from asphyxiation. He didn't die from anybody, essentially choking him out, is what it said. He died from numerous things brought on, potentially by a chaotic, crazy thing, but that part of it he didn't die from. Well, you'd have to say, if you believe that, if you're going to I believe he was choked out, and you believe the medical report, then it says it didn't happen, what do you do then? I don't know. The other side of it, Floyd's family brought in immediately somebody else who said, no, this is what he died from. And that guy's lying. Somebody's lying, or they're not good at their job. You need to think about that for a second. So either this person over here is lying, the medical examiner, the coroner for the county, you are a liar, or you're incompetent. On the other side, either you're lying, your medical examiner, because you want to prove something, or you're incompetent. Those are your choices in this. And which one will sell better? Which one will come out and sell their medical report as the truth? Be a tough one. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, because you look at something like that, right? You go and you look at that video. You go and you look at the video. It's hard not to say, just based on the video. I mean, every day I'd be like, we're going to open with a video again. Every day we're going to open the video. Do you know that they have a chair there that is empty? And that chair is for anybody who supports Derek Chauvin. They can show up and sit there. Well, nobody's going to show up. His mom's dad, and nobody's going to show up. Why is that? Well, first of all, no police officers who may go, look, that I've known him for 20 years. That was out of the ordinary. He's not the evil demon person. But you're not showing up, because if you show up and sit there, you're going to be splashed over the paper saying, Derek Chauvin has a supporter, and it's this person, and he's evil and bad. Also, when you put people on the stand who are police, right, who are the higher-ups in the police force in Minneapolis, and you tell them, is this part of your training? What do you think they're going to say? No. Don't tell them that thing that we did. Remember that thing? Don't tell them that. Don't tell them we do those things. Because they're under a microscope as well. But if I'm the prosecution, every day I start with the video. This is all you need to see. We're going to do all the other stuff, but this is it. You see it there happening. You see it happening in front. You see what's going on. And their defense wasn't me. No. You see what's going on. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. We're talking about Georgia and what's going on there. Obviously boycotts, because, that's what you do now. So Georgia's got this new law, and it's evil and bad. There's a lot of places across the country that are controlled by Republicans, and they're making some rule changes in the way that some of these things are done. And part of that reason is they're looking back and saying, hey, a lot of this stuff that took place, coronavirus came, all of a sudden some of these laws were changed. Some of them Republicans did. But in several places that became battleground states, what ended up happening? Some things were changed arbitrarily when it comes to mail-in ballots by people who weren't elected officials. I could see how people could get upset by that. That you should be upset. It's funny, though. It's election integrity we're protecting, right? Or you're suppressing the vote. Like there's no reality in being able to have a conversation with anybody because people are insane at this point in time. And all they want to do is yell at each other and make a point that 9 times out of 10 is even based in any real facts. Texas is following suit in doing something similar to what Georgia's doing.
The Republican-led Texas Senate has approved a bill limiting early voting hours, restricting the number of voting machines at polling places, and stripping county officials of their election-related duties. Former Democratic presidential hopeful Beto O'Rourke.
This is the single greatest attack on the ability to vote in Texas in more than a decade.
Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick says it isn't about voter suppression, but election security.
The bill is needed because Americans no longer trust the system.
Texas-based Dell and American Airlines have expressed opposition to the GOP proposals.
Here's the way I look at things. Why don't we just come up with hey, you know what? You can start voting here and voting ends here. That's it. Voting ends at this time. On this night, we know when that is, right? We all remember that when it is. It's November. And we're talking, and again, they'll special runoffs and they're going to have elections next year for the midterms, and then allow the states to run their thing. But when I hear stuff like that, I think to myself, why are you making it tougher to vote? Right? Why? First of all, you're hurting yourself. If you see all the leaps that Trump made, even in the African-American community and the Hispanic, people are like, oh my God, he did make some leaps. Why are you hurting yourself? Why are you making it tougher to vote? The voter ID thing, I've never had an issue with. Like if producer Phil has to buy a can of spray, condensed spray, so he can clean his keyboard, because he gets food all over it, and they want his ID for that. Or I go to buy Robitussin, and they want my ID and my firstborn, and I've got to go to a special, safe room where they have to open stuff up and retina scan. Voter ID, and that's silly. But, yeah, they should make things easier for people to vote. But when you do that, you also run the fact that, people are going to cheat. I will tell you this now. You always do a postmortem. Where do we get right? What do we get wrong? Where was there fraud? How bad really was it? Can we fix it? And go from there. That's what you do. Limiting isn't the smart thing to do. It makes you look cheap and petty. Absolutely. It makes you look completely cheap and petty. You put more opportunities for people to vote, but you make it more secure. I think that's a win-win for everybody. But we can't come to an agreement because it's all about fighting and arguing. And then again, everybody gets involved in the world of wokeness, and they're dragged into something, and Georgia is seeing that right now. And what is that? Well, it's about dollars and cents. So, Georgia, we're going to pull your money. Hollywood's been a little quiet about this. Why is that? It's pretty simple. Hollywood, first of all, they really tied with China right now, so that's not our country, so we shouldn't care. Okay. Secondly, and this is very important, Hollywood has huge tax breaks. Massive. Huge. Massive. It's easy to yell at Arkansas over a trans bathroom when you don't go to Arkansas. When you go to Georgia and you spend a ton of time there making movie after movie because they're essentially saying, come here and work for free, you're like, uh-oh. I don't know if I want to do that. I know we don't want to give that up. So shh. It's dollars and cents. At the end of the day, everybody knows now. And so what you have now is basically nobody, maybe a libertarian. I don't even know if libertarians. Who can drink Coke now? Because the right's screaming, well, you shouldn't be involved in any of the Olympics or the World Cup because of the places that they're going to be at. And the left is going, nobody should be involved with Georgia. So, Coke's trying to step out of it. So now we're at a point where it's like, who's going to be drinking Coke? Nobody. Nobody's allowed to do it. Oh, that sucks. It's the way it is, kids. It's the way it is. But you hurt their pocketbook, and that's what everybody's afraid of. You hurt the pocketbook, and you give them bad press. The CEO's worried about bad press, and the people in these communities and who work for these companies are worried about their jobs. That's the way that works. It's so funny. Now everybody's mad at Texas. I never get we're going to make it tougher to vote. We're going to pull polling places out of areas where, I'm like, why are you pulling polling places out? You should be making them more secure and putting them in. Why are you doing that? It's the way I look at the Republicans and say, why are you making it tougher in areas to vote? I'm okay with giving it point A to point B. That's totally fine. I'm okay with the ID, but don't be pulling things out of places. And stop telling me because I can't give you water 25 feet from a place or 100 feet from a place that somehow I am hurt. Look, if you're really thirsty, drink before you get there or bring your own water. And if you're really hungry and you're not quite sure how long this is going to take, bring a snack. It's that simple. And get an ID. It's not that hard. I'll give you a hint. Most of these states will provide you with an ID at no cost. Oh, my God. Are you serious? That's crazy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you, the good, the bad, the hate. Yesterday I got a lot of that because, a lot of people like to send me stuff about how horrible America is because we talked about capitalism. And that always makes me laugh. I'm sitting there going, all right, then you don't have to live here, right? At least, you don't. Like, it's always, if you hate this country, you can go somewhere else. You can try to. I mean, they may not take you. I got news for you. Let me tell you how this works in a lot of places. What do you have? What do you mean? Well, I mean, are you opening a business? Do you have a lot of money? We don't want to support you. So tell us what you have. The rich, it's easy for them to bounce places. Buy a home there, right? Buy a home. Maybe set up a business. I can live there 6 months out of the year and somewhere else 6 months out of the year. I can be mobile. But for poor, they're like, we don't want the poor. America, we take everybody. Good, bad, and the ugly. And that's reality, whether people want to believe that or not. Also, another myth of, we're the worst at this. We're not nice. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Home title lock. It's very interesting. People ask me, do you really need a home title lock? That's just like the silliest thing. You see where prices are in houses? You think about this for a second, right? I was reading an article the other day. A woman put her house for sale. It's like $400,000. She had 77 cash offers within 24 hours. Cash. We're not going through a credit check. I've got the cash for you right here. We're not doing any of that stuff. Here's the cash. I'll transfer it to your bank. She got $700,000 for it. Why wouldn't somebody try to steal a title on a home? It's easy. Cyber criminals do it every single day. They're doing it all over the place, and you don't even know about it till it's too late. Everything's public record because what do you have to do? You have to go down and record it all. County recorder's office. All you need to do is give Home Title Lock a chance. Let them show you what they can do and how they can protect you. Because by the time you realize you're in trouble, it's too late. Go to HometitleLock.com. Use promo code radio. You can get 30 days free. You can even put your address in to see if there's been any funny business with your title. And think about how much your house is worth now and the equity that's in there. And what happens if somebody steals it? How do you get it back? Don't let them steal it. HometitleLock.com, code radio. HometitleLock.com, code radio. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
The newly approved ADHD drug is called Qelbree, and unlike other attention deficit drugs, Qelbree is not a stimulant or a controlled substance, which makes it harder to abuse than the older drugs. Scientists say it may appeal to parents who worry other ADHD prescriptions are addictive. The new attention and hyperactivity disorder drug was sold for decades in Europe as an antidepressant.
Yeah. So that stuff never worked on me. That stuff never, ever worked on me. Didn't. Now, and it's, you guys have no idea. Like, I take something now, I don't know, but it's because I am, there's a squirrel. In fact, so I do my show here, right? So I get here, I do my show, I do like 40 things in the morning, and I like to get up early, and I like to get going. I don't like sleeping, I don't like doing stuff. I like my naps when I can, but boom, I'm gone. and I'm always working. I'm always doing something. It's to the point when I show prep for my other show that my other host, because he knows I've already done this and I've read 7,000 articles and I'm, a weirdo like that. He's like, go for a walk, go do something. We get the show planned because he knows I'm like, ooh, there's a squirrel. Ooh, that's me. My mother, they tried everything when I was a kid. We're gonna give Ritalin. We're gonna give everything. Just throw it all at him. See what we could do. And yeah, never slowed me down. Just never did slow me down. And I got the attention, but I got the hyperactivity. And if there are kids that nowadays it's like, oh, Jimmy's not paying attention. Well, there's a difference between somebody squirming and wanting to go outside and run around and have fun, and another person who is like in la-la land, and then I would just leave school. Like I'd be like 7, and my mom would get a call like he just left. Who is that kid? It was me. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. That's why you need to give these kids a stimulus, a stimulating thing for them to do rather than try to control them. Use their superpowers. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
It is premature to declare a victory. We've got to continue and hang in there a bit longer by continuing with the public health measures.
That's Dr. Fauci. It is premature to declare a victory. We have to hang in a little bit longer. I mean, we're still in the first few days of our 2 weeks of flattening the curve and slowing the spread. Once we get out of these 2 weeks, we should be good. Wait, what? No, he didn't say that. I'm kidding. A joke. We're there. We're almost there. They asked Fauci, hey, bro, would you fly?
If I have to go someplace this summer, like with the family, I would not hesitate to do that. If, in fact, we continue to come down on the infections and more people get vaccinated.
Well, here's my question. Why would you – let's just say we don't, right, for the sake of argument, just in this pretend world that I'm living in at this moment in time. Sake of argument. Sake of this argument. Let's for the pretend moment in time. But you have the vaccine. So you have the vaccine. Dr. Fat. Yes, I have the vaccine. So you've gotten it, right? So you cannot get it. You could potentially get it, but the chances of that are slim to none. And a majority of the people on the airplane are going to have the vaccine. But let's just say we stopped right here. You still wouldn't travel because something that you can't catch, and apparently, up until last week, at least for a few hours, the CDC director said there's a good chance not only can you not catch it, you can't give it to anybody. And they're like, oh, reel that back in. You still wouldn't fly. That's interesting. It's interesting. I won't fly because I'm not wearing a mask for 5 hours. I was talking about that yesterday. It's like, because we work with our buddies over at AMAC, and they're always doing something out in Florida, because Florida's basically like, hey, we're open. It was like, what are you talking about? What's this coronavirus? Is that a new drink? Sounds like something we should be doing on the beach. Oh, it's not? It's bad? Okay, we didn't know that. Sounds like something you could do that's bad. But they'll always say, hey, we're having something out here. And I'm like, I'm not wearing a mask for 5 or 6 hours. I can't. Yesterday, I'm talking to a client. So a client comes in, and we're going to do a couple voiceovers for him, and they're laughing at me because I have my mask on because we're in the middle of everything, and here they want us to wear a mask. Totally understandable. CYA yourself. But I'm wearing glasses, and my glasses are fogging up every time I breathe. And with the beard and that, it drives me crazy. So yeah, I don't think I could do it. If I had to, I could. But I'm not going to live my life in fear. I'm not going to live my life in the what-if scenario. I just don't think we can. I don't think we should. And then there's the other side of things, of the passport. The passport. Is it even legal to have a passport. I say, for the vaccination, no chance in hell should you in any way, shape, or form be requiring, because where does that end? But then you get into the legalese side of things, because there's, we've talked about this when this thing first started. For the safety and the good of all, there are things that essentially the government can do when it comes to health, where they can overstep a lot of things in the health world. Right? So they can for the better of the entirety of a society. But the vaccine passport, it's a little sketchy.
Remember, even the state is allowed to demand that people get vaccines. We've seen that. There's a Supreme Court decision with regard to smallpox, which said, yes, even states can require it. So there's no doubt that private businesses are allowed to say, we're going to demand this. Remember, though, if it's an employer, you have to think about those exemptions.
Yeah, and that's a different thing. Employers, there's some exemptions. There's certain things like that religious exemptions, like for my aunt. My aunt and my little brothers, they've had really severe anaphylactic shock and a few things when they've gotten shots and things of that nature. So the recommendation was don't get it. It's don't get it, because it's not worth it. And if you do get one, Johnson & Johnson may be the best bet, but at this point, don't get it. Well, what about, why do they not have to have a vaccinate? Now they have to have a doctor's note, all of these things. And this is the struggle, and states are going through this right now, and state legislators across the country are battling it out, trying to give protection to employers, because employers don't want to force their employees to get it, but at the same time, they want to CYA themselves, because as we all know, we're going to find out later on the show, because you could sue for just about anything. When you hear the story about a taco eating contest that's insane. But why somebody want the passports, it's zero to do with, we want this, we can open things up in the way that you think. It's so much of it is about dollar bills.
That's going to be the interesting legal ground, is going to be challenges to these governors basically saying it's a ban. Because, for example, the cruise industry in Florida, huge business. And they want to say, look, we want to start this in Florida. We want to require this. And they're going to either have to figure out a way to try to challenge it, which probably won't be successful, or potentially think about having to move their ports.
Yeah. And that's not like just going, all right, we're going to move next door. I mean, that's a big deal. It costs a lot of money. It's not free to just sail in somewhere. Do you have the infrastructure to even bring these kind of ships in? This is. But do you remember when this first broke? All right. So COVID was starting. It wasn't really, it had started to happen. But we weren't, wearing masks. But then it started to really get serious. And then cruise ships, one person would get it, then two, then three. The next thing you know, they were floating. Just floating around outside of harbors across this country and the world, because countries and states are like, you can't come here. You can't bring that here. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, I could see why they would want that. What do? I mean, do they get to a point where they go, all right, here's the deal. You guys, if you want to come, you have to have this. But you guys have to board us, in international waters where essentially it's the law of the sea kind of thing, or, where we can demand. I don't know. But it's about dollars and cents, not about safety. It's about getting people back on the boat. Yeah, safety's great. But so much of it is you have an industry that is dead, completely shut down. Going nowhere. Boats that are just sitting there doing nothing and losing how much on a daily basis? It's huge. So I could see why they would want it. But you're going to have states that are going to be like, yeah, you can't do that. And I wouldn't do it. I'm sorry. Even if I get vaccinated and they say, here's your vaccine pass. No, I'm sorry. I'm not. I don't know. No, that's nuts. That's nuts. And if a business wants to say, hey, you know what, you shouldn't, we don't want you in here unless you've been vaccinated, there's going to be more legal challenges. It's a no-win situation. We're in a no-win world right now where if you try something, they're going to fight you. If you try something, they're going to fight you. You do something over here, people just want to sell their stuff. They want to sell their widgets, right? Coca-Cola's had to jump into the Georgia battle. Why? Coca-Cola's where? Georgia. Producer Anthony and I. Producer Anthony, his family lives out there. He lived out there for a long time. We were talking about it this morning. It's like, you go to Georgia, one of the things you want to go do is you want to go to the Coca-Cola Museum. I want to go see the Coca-Cola Museum. Well, Cokes had to jump in this entire craziness about Georgia's voting laws, what's real, what's not real. They pulled Major League Baseball's All-Star Game from there. All the while, the guy that pulled it, Rob Manfred, is also a member of Augusta National, which is in Georgia, which is where the Masters is being played, which starts tomorrow. And, you know, if you're a CEO now, you are more about trying to field questions and protect your company from wokeness and from potentially people on both sides of the aisle telling we don't drink this anymore, we don't use your widget anymore because of this. And it's not because whether or not it's good. It is all to do with what are your values.
Let me be crystal clear and unequivocal. This legislation is unacceptable. It is a step backwards, and it does not promote principles we have stood for in Georgia around broad access to voting, around voter convenience, about ensuring election integrity. And this is frankly just a step backwards.
Just a step backwards. That's the CEO of Coca-Cola right there. Mr. Quincy, James Quincy there. Cool. This has gone backwards for sure. Not doing this anymore. But they're getting brought into the middle of this. And it's like they want to sell their widgets. That's it. They want to sell their widgets. They want to sell their wares. They don't want to be, you know, look, it used to be, look, we're going to be socially involved by charity, right? We're going to help with the homeless. We're going to help with children's hospitals. We're going to give money to the needy. Now, that's great, but what else are you doing? Well, what do you mean, what else are you doing? Well, we'd like you to take stand on social issues. Like, we'd like you to have a commercial that says, hey, if you drink Coke, you're trans friendly. If you drink Coke, you're all pro choice, right? And the other side's like, no, if you drink Coke, you better be pro life. It's like I just want to sell my stuff. That's it. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want to take a stand like that. And that's what CEOs are having to do on a day-to-day basis. They're having to take stands on things. You know, one of the funniest things is the fact that, you know, Greg Gutfeld's got his new show, but he talked about, you know, because so much of what you're seeing in Georgia now is supposed to be the bill itself is seeing as it's passed and signed by Brian Kemp, the governor. It's all about it hurts, you know, people of color. It's all about is the people of color, and yeah, some of that might be absolutely true. And we're going to break down the law, the truths and the lies a little bit later, but. It is. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to move the game, right? And let's be real. I mean, where are you going to move it? Let's move it to the widest place you can.
Once the media decided the Georgia voting bill was evil by demanding the same steps you'd need to get a library card, what did Major League Baseball do? They moved the game from Atlanta, which is 51% black, to Denver, which is 76% white. In this new woke world, skin color is everything. So to help black people, MLB moved the game to Denver, which is whiter than the slopes in Aspen, and made sure black-owned businesses in Atlanta just lost millions in profit. Like most woke policies, they make the folks in charge feel good while harming the people they insist they're helping.
A lot of that's true. So much of that stuff is just lip service, but it is funny. It's just like, let's move it to the widest place we can. Oh, my goodness. Just, it's crazy. It is, right? Like, that's what we're dealing with. And it's so funny the way that things go, because, like, that's all about feeling good. Nike announced that they're going to suspend their endorsement with Deshaun Watson, but it was like, 21 women, we're all right with that. 22, that's a bridge too far. It's like now is your, oh my goodness me. It's nuts. It is nuts. You have to live in the time. People are going to ask, you know, great grandkids, you know, be like 104, floating conscience, right? Thanks to Elon Musk. And they'll be like, hey, Grandpa, what was it like back in your day? It's like, it was amazing. Wokeness. People stop buying things because people's political beliefs. That's what I feel like it's going to be like. Wow, that's stupid. We know that now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Twitter, CarShield gives you the best protection for what you need. That's what I tell everybody about CarShield. You go to CarShield, like everything else, understand what you're looking for, right? Understand what you're looking for. If your car you're worried about the miles on the engine and what may happen with your engine, you want to protect your engine. If you're worried about the electronics in your car, the things like your air conditioning and stuff like that, you get protection for that. Plans start as low as $99 a month. You get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop, and the shop is the shop that you choose. And once you do that, you pay them a small deductible. They get them paid the rest. You can just call them up. Be specific about the coverage you want and what it is that you need on your vehicle. 800-665-2157. Code Benson saves you 10% right there. It is simple and easy to do. You can also go to carshield.com, carshield.com. Use code Benson to save 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? Let us take a peek and find out what's trending in the old interwebs of the interweb world. Simple and easy. Head over to Google. Right now, it is a situation where Deshaun Watson is trending. Nike has just said, all right, we're not going to work with you. This 22 girls that's just too much. But also, people who are accusing him now are coming forward. Ashley Solis, she's the first Deshaun Watson accuser to speak publicly. She's come out, talked about what he allegedly did. Right now, while they're looking into it, there is no criminal investigation as of charges at this moment. But it is like one could be like, all right, maybe somebody is trying to make some money, or maybe something did happen. You get to 22, you're probably like, all right, so we think we have an issue now, right? I think there's an issue. Caitlyn Jenner is exploring a run for the governor of California. It's funny because the GOP are some of the people that she's working with are, GOP operatives who are exploring. Why not? Like at this point in time, I mean, Gavin Newsom's done a piss poor job. So, why not think about that? Head on over to Twitter. Twitter's the usual place where you see the Beijing Olympics right now are potentially in the crosshairs of a boycott. And we're going to talk about that because it's very interesting. Could that happen? The Masters plays tomorrow. Starts. I'm super excited. Trending everywhere. Everybody from Dustin Johnson, Tiger Woods, who's not going to be there. But, this is it. Like, this is the Super Bowl of golf in so many ways. And who will win the green jacket? That is just, starting to. But also because these golfers, like everything else that goes on in Georgia right now, are being dragged into something. And of all the things that goes on in the world of sport, as far as politics and stuff, if you're going to look for a conservative area, golf is definitely the area where you will find the absolute most conservatives in the world of sports. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. And Kim Kardashian, because, she's a billionaire. Just to let you guys know. Make you feel better about yourself. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
As more and more schools return to in-person learning, a new survey says many students are not. The survey from the Biden administration and reported by the Associated Press shows large numbers of students are not returning to the classroom from remote learning. In February, according to the survey, nearly 46% of public schools in the U.S. offered 5 days a week of in-person instruction, but just 34% of students were back in the classroom full-time. The gap was most pronounced among older K-12 students. Just 29% of 8th graders were learning in school 5 days a week.
And I play that to talk about the fact that some lady tweeted out something. My child just got sent to Zoom detention for not paying attention in Zoom 4th grade. They actually have an access room. So they send you a link and you have to go in there and you're in detention. So you're in your house. So think about this. Let's go there. You're in your house. And apparently, they were struggling, and they said they had repeated behavioral issues, which apparently she was warned about. Kids are struggling because the teacher's also teaching some kids there, so it's a little bit of both. And because of that frustration, look, that's understandable. But then they send her a link that child has to go to another Zoom class. Oh my God, this is sad. This kids are sad. You know how far kids are falling behind, right? So I've got I got the family. So like my little brothers, who again I'll go into it really quick. They're adopted. They're my nieces and nephews. I'm adopted. I'm little brothers and sisters. But so my little brothers, one of them is Jack's age. So Elijah and him are like best friends. So Elijah goes to school now finally. Back in because he's got a lot of issues. He's got he's got defiance issues, serious. He was born with all kinds of. My sister was a hot mess, and he was born with all kinds of stuff that was wrong with him. You would know it, but he goes to a special school. My other little brothers, outside of one going to private school, they're not going to school the rest of the year. They've already been told they're not going to school at all for the rest of the year. Don't even think about it. And they go to class a couple hours a day at best. Starts at like 10, it's done by like 1. My son Jack, on the other hand, his school starts at 7:45, but he's done by 9:30 or 10, and then they have a special thing. And now it's like, and it's way better than a lot of other places I've seen where I hear these nightmares from parents are like, they keep the kids for like 2 hours and then that's it. You know, they check in here or there, but they give them assignments. And I'm like, they have fallen so far behind. It was a lost year for a lot of kids. A really bad, because if you really think about it, like it's everybody, we're redoing this year, and whatever grade you were in last year, you're going to be in it next year. Well, that's going to what's going to ruin, really, honestly? If you're 10, what is it ruining? Nothing. So you'll be a little bit older in high school when you get out, if we're worried about that. But it's, oh man, I tell you what, Zoom detention. My God, what the hell is wrong with people? What do you do at this time? You just write your mom and say, look, if he or she can't behave, maybe it's best we send the assignment, you go over it because they're becoming a distraction, and maybe it'll be easier there than having somebody on there. Sending them to another Zoom link for them to play around with is just stupid. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. You know, so Georgia's doing its Georgia thing, and of course everybody is freaking out about that. That's evil. It's bad. We all know what's going on there because they decided to pass a law that other people don't like, and because of that, we're like, we're going to pull everything from them.
I think the Masters golf tournament should be moved out of Georgia.
I think that's up to the Masters. Look, there's another side to it, too. The other side to it, too, is when they, in fact, move out of Georgia, the people who need the help the most, people who are making hourly wages, sometimes get hurt the most. I think it's a very tough decision for a corporation to make, but I respect them when they make that judgment, and I support whatever judgment they make.
There you go. That's what you just said nothing without saying something. Yeah, I totally respect everything that they do. Well, what if they decide to stay? Well, I guess I have to respect that because I just said so. CEOs are in this, and they have no choice. And some are forced into it, right? They don't want to be in it. But there are other CEOs out there that get away. They can live in a different world. They can. Like, as individuals, they could get in trouble, and they may have to leave their jobs. But J.P. Morgan, for instance, their CEO, Jamie Dimon, he embraces these kind of things because he likes the power. He courts both sides of the aisle. His annual shareholders newsletter that came out the other day, he urges companies to play a bigger role in fixing the world's problem. Says the nation's policy design and implementation have been hampered by short-term thinking, and few institutions are blameless. Sometimes crippling our nation, we get bogged down with self-interest and the associated bureaucracy and bad thinking that follow. He wants to be a part of it. If you go and look at, like, everybody talks about the diverse cabinet, you go and look at, like, the people that are surrounded there. While there's diversity, yes, and we can all look at, oh, everybody great. We all think alike, so that's perfect. The skin color may be different, but you go look, a lot of them, they all worked on Wall Street. A good portion. Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan. They court both sides of it because it's a corporation. Both sides of corporation. And then what happens? You come out and then you get people saying stuff that's just asinine and insane. Case in point, the king of that, Keith Olbermann.
Indeed, everybody opposed to the Georgia apartheid voting laws.
So the apartheid voting laws, let's just I didn't even know what to say. So for those of you guys who know what apartheid is, maybe you're too young. Basically, it was institutional racism, right? Africa, South Africa in particular, from 48 until the early 90s, Nelson Mandela's. You start going through all the things. But it was a system where white citizens were up here, followed by Asians, and then the Africans, the blacks. That's not what this is. All right. So let's just everybody take a deep breath. But that's what you say. That's like, oh, yeah, that's right. It's just like apartheid. No.
Indeed, everybody opposed to the Georgia apartheid voting laws, everybody must realize now this is economic war. The goal now is to keep American money out of Georgia until the state repeals these laws and atones for them. Because Georgia is where the forces of fascism have chosen to start this fight. Laws like theirs have now been proposed by Trump acolytes in 42 other states. These monsters cannot be appeased. They must be broken. The next battlefield is Augusta, Georgia, April 8th. Boycott the Masters.
Boycott the Masters. And then he goes after the Masters because that's what you do. And by the way, his Masters take is just all over the place.
This is Olbermann versus Confederate Georgia. Great. Now,
So he's taking on Confederate Georgia. It's the apartheid. It's totally like the apartheid. I've been to Atlanta. Been out there on numerous occasions, see my buddy Drew and all the people over at Cox out there in WSB. And I've been there. Let me tell you something. I walk in there, I'm like, man, this is just like South Africa. This is totally like South Africa. It's not like that, by the way. But that's where you like, and fascism. And he's going to take it on. But this is what it is. And we've talked about the cultural war. You hit people where it hurts. So wait a minute. Your whole thing is destroy somebody and their business if they don't listen to what you say. Because you don't like a law that somebody else passed in a state that you don't live in because you think it's bad. And you're going to keep American money. Why are you worried about American money? Why are you not worried about American money going to Beijing or even the World Cup in Qatar, where you want to talk about second-class citizens and apartheid and what they're doing? Right now, the World Cup qualifying is going on. Biggest sporting event. It dwarfs the Olympics. It makes the Olympics look like nothing. They're getting people from places like Bangladesh, Pakistan, India, and everywhere else. There's an opportunity where people want to go and work, and they're bringing them there. They're taking their passports, and they're making them build these stadiums in Qatar, and people are dying. Not a little bit, a lot of it. It's not even close. People don't know what happened to their family members. People are taking notice of what's going on, notice of the oppression in some of these places. But it's okay there because Georgia's evil and bad. It's just like South Africa.
Boycott the Masters. Not only has Major League Baseball unexpectedly done exactly the right thing by moving its All-Star game out of Atlanta, but it has just as importantly opened the floodgates and put a target on the back of every major sports event, every major non-sports event, and every corporation doing business with Georgia. As an aside, when baseball announced this, thank goodness I was at a checkup in my cardiologist's office.
So we're going to get rid of the Masters because everybody should have everything taken away. It's the way it should be. Just move everything out of there. Just leave nothing. Just leave nothing. Just don't go. Take your business or else. Stay away from there. So he's going to go after the Masters. Remember what I said about golf? Golf is the one place where, A, they don't like getting political, as we all know, and B, it's uber conservative.
The next big opportunity to do the right thing is Thursday, the Masters Golf Tournament. It's not likely they're going to move it out of Augusta, Georgia. The course was segregated there until 1990. The double meaning in a former slave state of Masters is also no coincidence. They will play that tournament, but that does not mean it has to count for anything, nor that it has to be shown on TV. The PGA Tour should declare that the Masters is not an official event and will not be recognized as a major tournament. And ESPN and CBS should not televise it, nor in Canada should the TSN network.
So, there's the double entendre of the Masters. And let's pull it out of there, because we'll show them, and it shouldn't count for anything. So we're going to talk about the reality of that. We're going to break down the facts of Georgia and, like, where they're moving the Major League All-Star games, like how real and how close are, because, you know, some conservatives are like, oh, they have got the same laws that we do. No, that's not true. But once again, it's also, there are some things that cross over, and it's just so funny. The way that people attack, and that civil war, that cultural civil war, is about canceling things, but it's also about punishment. If you don't do what I say, and talk about fascism, if you don't do what I say, we'll punish you. If you don't bend to my beliefs, we'll punish you. We're not interested in educating you. We're not interested in trying to change your mind based on ideals and things that we think, data and facts that beat yours. Nope. It's do this or we'll punish you. Which, as we all know, totally works. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We're going to talk about that, more from the insanity of Keith Overman and many others out there. Oh, my goodness me. I tell you what, Raycons. I love my Raycons. I do. So I'm going to go play golf. It's not the Masters. It's just Chad's hitting golf balls today. I'll probably hit a couple hundred balls. And in doing so, I'll walk around with my Raycons, and I won't have to worry about them. They got a 100% charge, so I know they're going to last me for several days. I love every second of being out there and just relaxing and enjoying myself and listening to my books and listening to music and just chilling. I don't have to worry about the wind and whether or not I can hear it. I don't have to worry about whether or not it's going to fall out. I told you guys the other day, Jax took my Raycons. I had to search high and low to get him back from him, and I had to use these other ones the other day. They were awful. They fell out of my ears every time I swung, and it drove me crazy. 6 hours of talk time, seamless Bluetooth pairing, no stems or wires. Start well under $100. Get your Raycons. Save an extra 15%. How? BuyRaycon.com/Chad. 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 Chad Benson Show.
I can't take it anymore!
Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
The next big opportunity to do the right thing is Thursday, the Masters Golf Tournament. It's not likely they're going to move it out of Augusta, Georgia. The course was segregated there until 1990. The double meaning in a former slave state of Masters.
Just, first of all, it's not a double meaning. So for those of you guys who don't know where the name came from, there was a battle. W. Alton Jones and the great Bobby Jones. They battled over the name. What should it be called? What shouldn't it be called, right? So they went through this entire thing. So you hear Oberman, the Masters, right? So Major League Baseball is pulled out. Then all of this stuff. And the reason they call it the Masters, because basically it's just everybody there. It was like, no, it's not. That's it. Once again, you've jumped. It used to be called the Augusta National Invitation. Part of the reason was Bobby Jones, the great Bobby Jones, he thought, it's too presumptuous because Alton Jones, he wanted to call it the Masters Tournament. Because it's an invitation. And these are going to be the Masters of Golf. After 5 years, it was finally changed. But you read into it. People are like, yeah, that's probably why they do that. It's probably why they wear those. Probably why they even have caddies. These guys probably aren't even getting paid. So funny. For those of you guys who don't know how the way it works as a caddy, you get paid probably anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000 a week, and then you get earnings from 7 to 10%, depending on what your player earns. So this weekend, somebody's going to win about $2.5 million, so that caddy's going to get $220,000. So before Keith Oberman doesn't understand, just want to throw that out there. Just nuts, though. That's the way that works. You're lying. None of that's real. It's crazy, but this is the world that we live in. Fake facts, twisted facts, disinformation, misinformation, all to feed what? To feed a ravenous group of people that way too many people buy into because they think it is everybody, when you find out it is a small group of people with a loud voice. It's like that dog behind the door that's screaming and then you open it up and you're like, that's a wiener dog. But everybody's terrified. Everybody is. Colorado, they have fewer in-person voting days. Yes, that's true. Than Georgia does now. But the reality is everybody essentially gets a ballot. They mail it in. In fact, I think it was like 99% of 0.3% of people who voted in the primary used either the ballot by mailing it in or dropping it in a box. Okay. As far as ID requirements, yeah, they have ID requirements, but that's only when you go to register to vote, and you can bring other things. And you can do that, too, in Georgia. That's the lies. You can't do anything else. No, you can bring other things. Utility bill, all of these things, military ID. There's ways, but it's all lies for the sake of getting people to do things. As far as the water and the food, which is a big thing, the reality is one's within 150 feet of a polling station or within 25 feet of voters when they're standing close to going in. Stop with the lies, everybody. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
I mean, the more people that get vaccinated, you're going to see the level of infections go way down. That's just going to be a natural consequence of getting a lot of people vaccinated. So we're doing very well. Each day that goes by, you have another 3 to 4 million people vaccinated. You're going to see a greater diminution in the number of cases and a greater freedom and flexibility in what people can do.
That right there is the dulcet tones of Mr. Fauci talking about Fauci things. Yeah, translation. Break it down for you guys. I speak Fauci. Yeah, let me tell you guys, the more people get vaccinated and the less that there is that's out there, the more we'll be able to do. And eventually, by 2065, we should be able to return to some normality as far as our day-to-day life. That's not true. Yeah, you're right. No. Look, vaccinations are important. Right now, AstraZeneca has been told essentially, hey, we found a link over here in Europe between your stuff And, this blood clotting thing. So maybe, we're going to only give it to a certain group of people. So, so there's that, which is not good. Because AstraZeneca is like the one they're pretty much been using, or at least trying to. The Europeans are so far behind us. For all the chaos of America. America didn't handle this very well. America didn't do good. America's bad at all this stuff. For all the chaos and lunacy, the reality is our vaccination side of things is rocking and rolling. Europe wishes they're doing what we're doing. They're not. France is in like their 28th lockdown. If you don't know, we are having troubles getting out of lockdown. It's very much a place where we are locked down. I was talking to a guy yesterday in Spain, an opera singer who is a great guy, right? His name's Gus Farwell, who used to be backup quarterback at ASU. He's in Barcelona. He's over there. He's an opera singer. If you're going to sing opera, you basically go to Europe or New York, maybe once in a great while Los Angeles, and he has got a voice that is redonkulous. And we started talking to him last year when this first happened because for a while he was entertaining everybody on like YouTube and all this stuff because he would go out on the balcony at night in Barcelona and he would just sing and his voice is like, oh. But he says to me, I was kind of getting used to, we're kind of getting used to the cage. Because over there, they're locked down. It's not like here where like our lockdowns are like, hey, you guys can't go outside, but you can if you want to. You guys really shouldn't go anywhere, but if you want to, you totally can. And, it's like their lockdowns are like, all right, you go outside on a Tuesday, you carry with you a little piece of paper, you're allowed to be outside for a couple hours, then you got to get back home. And it's insane. It is absolutely insane what he was telling us. But how he says, people were getting used to living in the cage. He couldn't leave the city. He says, I hope to get back to America in the fall, but you don't know. That's nuts. We're doing a better job. We're vaccinating more. We've had a lot of people that have caught it. And the reality is in some weird ways, that's kind of a good thing. If we were trying to get through this with vaccines alone, we may be at this for another year or two before we get anywhere near talking about a normal way of life. But here we are. We're getting closer, and that's a good thing. It is. Some states are having issues. Yeah, that's going to happen. Right? You had a lot of states that lock down much harder than other states. But you're also at a point now where every governor, right or left, has realized, I can't do this forever. My constituents, essentially my customers, are saying, nah, we're going to find somebody else to run this if you don't let us out. Even Gretchen Whitmire, where you're seeing a huge bump in Michigan, she essentially said, look, the fatigue is too strong. I have no choice now. I've got to start opening up. That's where we are. We're going to get there. But I do understand the frustration. I do. And I've said, but I understand it in a way that is, we think we're frustrated, and we are. But, man, isn't it great we have a Constitution that essentially protects our freedoms? And, yes, politicians step on it at times, and they override it, and people read in it and misinterpret it, and they want to. But the reality is we're in a situation now that is so much better than I think a lot of people realize. When we fought it, embraced it. You live on an island, right? You're in New Zealand, even Australia. You live on an island. It's a little bit easier to lock down, right? Taiwan's a little bit easier to lock down. Here, we've got 50 different countries that all have their own idea how to run their world, and they've got about doing it. Now we've got this big debate of whether or not we should have passports. Passports. Yeah, passports for vaccines. That's a weird thing. States are already coming out and saying, no, we're not doing that.
Remember, even the state is allowed to demand that people get vaccines. We've seen that. There's a Supreme Court decision with regard to smallpox, which said, yes, even states can require it. So there's no doubt that private businesses are allowed to say, we're going to demand this, Remember, though, if it's an employer, you have to think about those exemptions.
Yeah, exemptions are big. But if you're an employer, your whole goal right now is to, how do I entice people to get the vaccine if they don't want to get it, rather than mandating it? Because there are going to be some people out there who just can't get it. They're going to be out there who don't want it. And don't want it because they think, you're going to grow a tail, or that you're going to forget who God is, or go be a farmer for Bill Gates, or any of that insanity. But because people are just like, I'm healthy, I feel good, I don't take that kind of stuff, and I'm going to get on with my life. And that's their reasoning. And, everybody's got their own things. The beauty of the world that we live in today is we have choices. So you try to entice. Businesses, that's going to be interesting. Because where do you draw the line? So if I don't get a flu shot, you don't care. But if I don't get this, I can't come in. And who gets to look at my records? People talk about, well, Clear's going to have it. And if you guys go to the airport, you know what Clear is. No, that's not going to happen. Sorry, I'm not giving them anything. There's just a lot that goes into this. And this is part of the battle that we have right now. We have so many battles, but so much of it is based on politics. And the battle of this insanity of two corporations that are hell-bent on continuing to keep us apart, because somehow if we met in secret, we'd find out we have a lot more in common than we do that isn't in common, and that only a small group of people on either side are loud and obnoxious and for whatever reason continue to get way too much of the bully pulpit. And it's nuts. It really is. But this is where we are, and we're doing better, and we're going to get through this thing. And everybody knows that. It's been ugly, and there will be some spikes. But I'm telling you what, when you talk to people in other places, especially people like in Europe, and to see what they're doing. Right now, the Europeans are fighting over, what should we give them? And what can we do here? What about over here? And well, I don't know, maybe we could try this one. What does this country say? Because this country also gets to say on what happens in Europe. We don't have that. Well, we have our 50 states and we do battle. Right now, their nightmare is at their doorsteps. We've been through our nightmare. And we're like, all right. Okay, there's some sunshine. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Love hearing from every single one of you. Tell you what, better watch out. Fortune 500 companies, because the woke is coming for you on this Woke Wednesday.
And we've been seeing this moving forward for about a decade, where the Fortune 500 has been getting more and more woke. And the left is weaponizing big business. You think about it, in the Fortune 500, it's hard to think of even a single conservative CEO. There are no conservatives among those CEOs.
It's Grandpa Munster, a.k.a. Ted Cruz. And there is conservatives. There's tons of conservatives. They want to be apolitical. That's what they want to be. They want to be apolitical, but they're not. They're being brought into these battles, like what's taking place in Georgia, like what's taken place in the past with, I don't like something he said or she said, so let's get rid of let's go after and target and weaponize our anger towards their sponsors. Therefore, they're going to be in a lot of trouble because I don't like a viewpoint that they have. And based on that, I feel that I should be able to destroy your life, which is the dumbest thing in the world. Especially when we're talking about real stuff. But so much of it's not. The right tried to do it for years. And it's never worked, right? They went after the Beatles and rock and roll and the uber Christian right, and they went after a lot of stuff, but it just never really worked like we have it now. Now CEOs are terrified of the Twitter mob that comes and says, you better or else.
So let's say you're a CEO. You're the CEO of Delta, and you just want to fly your airplanes and make some money. And what happens is they mobilize employees, they mobilize shareholders, they mobilize people on Twitter, they mobilize people on the press to pound them from the left. And all of these CEOs are giving in to the woke mob, and big business is becoming the enforcer of the hard left. And it is a really, really dangerous dynamic.
He's right. You know, and as CEOs, we've talked to CEOs here before. We've talked to CEOs. You know, I've talked to one of the largest CEOs maybe of all time for my other company last week, and that's like you have no idea the insanity. In the boardrooms, they're not worried about an up. You know, it used to be like, oh my God, business is down, and this is where it's trending, and we've got to figure out how to stay ahead of the curve. And now it's like, what did somebody say? Who's mad at us now? What group is going to be marching in front of our doors soon demanding we get rid of something? And more often than not, they don't even use your product. It's not about that. It's about getting you to bend to their will. And when either side wants to cancel or punish somebody, I find it to be ridiculous. But it's a great weapon. It is. And it's a weapon that the left has a much better grasp on. But if you want to stop it, you've got to be a CEO that says, nah. That's what it takes. No, I don't think so. I don't. Because you find out that A, we have a short attention span, and we're on to something else. And B, a lot of times you can actually do okay with your business and find out that, yeah, you know what? The people that were mad at me don't actually use my product. And the people that they were trying to reach who use my product are probably still going to use my product in the future. Unless, of course, your product sucks, but can't fix that. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens, one of the great organizations that's fighting against the likes of cancel culture. Making sure that you have the opportunity to not be canceled, right? Protecting your First Amendment. Protecting your Second Amendment. On top of that, they offer benefits across the board from everything you can think of, from retail, restaurant, hotel discounts, and everything else. And they're out there fighting on your behalf for things like common sense immigration reform, plus making sure that you can do things. You may need things. You may be over 50, but under the age you're going to take Social Security or Medicare, but you have questions about those things and how maybe you could get health care. They'll help you find it at a price that's right for you. These are just a few of the things that AMAC offers. You can join today. It's $16 for the year. amac.us/chat, amac.us/chat. Join today, amac.us/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
I haven't heard much this week. I definitely tried to, especially the first week or two, I tried to just close my ears because it's just astonishing the things that people say when they hear one thing, then they start saying this happened and oh my gosh, did you hear this? And I'm just like, it's not true. First off, if it is true, wait to either hear it from him or wait to hear it from someone on his team. Like, don't just hear it because you heard, like, this is a serious situation. And even if it isn't serious, it's not fair. You know, God forbid something terrible came out about the accident, say that were with his kids, like his kids aren't out there, but then the word starts spreading, then that gets back to Elon. Then Elon's like, what's going on? When if the person just would have waited and heard it from the source itself, then you actually figure out that it's not true. And that's kind of what I found out at the beginning is kind of hearing what was going on and then hearing what was being spread of what was going on. It just was hard because, you know, everyone cares and everyone wants to know, but at the same time, you need to be respectful. And
that right there is Justin Thomas yesterday at the Masters, one of the favorites, talking about Tiger. Tiger and him were very close. Words coming out that Tiger was speeding, doing about 83 and a 45. It's pretty fast, and it's a windy road. And I've been down that road on numerous occasions, and let me tell you something. It's fun, but that's and even the sheriffs and stuff. So that was probably more that we're never going to know about it, but that's what it looks like. It was just speeding. You know, the speculation at first was there drugs involved? Was there alcohol involved? Was the Tiger have a medical episode, that something we didn't even know about? Did he pass out? I mean, you started going through that, but then, you know, obviously Tiger's had his issues. He had his issues with opioids and painkillers and things, and he's been pulled over and arrested for driving under the influence and things of that nature. and everybody jumps to conclusions, because that's what we do. Because we live in a day and age where it's about being first. It's not about being right. There's very little repercussions. And the rumor is always more entertaining than the fact. Fact is, he was speeding on a windy road. He was late, had to get to a golf. He was doing something for the Golf Network with quarterback Justin Herbert and Drew Brees, now retired Drew Brees. And he was late getting there, and he was frustrated, and he sped out. And by the sounds of it, he was just going, too fast, probably not paying attention, texting, who knows what. But it just, that's where it is at this moment in time. It looks like it's speeding. And the sheriffs were very respectful. And I think part of that is because of what took place with Kobe. Remember, man, by the time that helicopter had crashed, the smoke wasn't even done. And, the sheriffs were, people were calling TMZ and getting paid. Let me tell you, he was in the helicopter and all these kind of things. And stuff was breaking left, right, and center. And then the pictures got out. Yeah, there was some heads that rolled in the department for that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. It's Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We need to search for intelligent life in Major League Baseball Commissioner's office. Commissioner Manfred, his job is to do the very best that he can, not to suck. And he has failed that. Major League Baseball is losing popularity to football and other sports. His job is to grow it. He decides to get involved in national politics and to alienate hundreds of millions of Americans who actually like the Georgia bill and think that it is an honest effort for election security.
Makes me laugh. Not gonna lie to you guys. Anytime I can hear John Kennedy just say anything, you just kind of giggle on this woke Wednesday. We never think about the other side, right? Like we never go, hey, maybe the other side has an idea, and maybe we're not seeing it from their point of view. Maybe these people are genuinely concerned about their votes. Maybe they're worried that their votes aren't going to matter. Maybe because we've already got enough disinformation. And by the way, it's not just the right or left, right? When the right wins, the left thinks that it was stolen. When the left wins, the right thinks it was stolen. So obviously people have it in their minds that voting is, if the other team wins, it's because they cheated. So that's not good. So in theory, we all think everybody's kind of cheating. And that's frustrating. But it shows you that we're really not interested in solutions. And why is that? Because the people who run it aren't interested in solutions. We've been saying it for a long time here. I don't like to toot our own horn because, quite frankly, I don't even have a horn here. But there it is. It's the tooting of the horn. Here's something. I've been calling the right and the left what? They're the same. But they're corporations, and that's all they are. And when you have corporations, whether it's Coke and Pepsi, you're competing against other corporations for what? Customers. Customers are voters in this case. So to compete against them, it used to be like my ideas were better. And in the free market world, more often than not, that works pretty darn well. But the free market isn't what it used to be. And why is that? Because of politicians. Politicians no longer want to debate ideals. They no longer want to debate, hey, let me tell you why I think low taxation, along with the strengthening of family, the school choice, and start walking through ideas. Or let me tell you why I think we should do high taxation, and that we should pour more money into these programs and outreach inside cities and underserved. Like, it's no longer that kind of debate. Now it's the other side's evil, and they're here and they're going to destroy you. And Charles Barkley even talked about it. Charles, as we all know, is a charismatic character, to say the least. But he's also somebody who speaks his mind in a world where everybody's terrified to say anything for fear of being canceled.
Man, I think most white people and black people are great people.
Well, there you can't say that. I think the same thing. And I think they're people, by the way. I don't see people that you don't see color. No, I see color. Like, I could tell that guy's black, or that's a woman, or non-binary, whatever. I was going to say that I was going to screw something up and somebody's going to be mad because I say it right. Or I could tell that person's Hispanic, right? Or that person's Asian, right? So I could tell that, but I don't look at them and like, I don't identify them as that. They're just a person. They're a human being, right? And by the way, it doesn't matter your color. We talk about this all the time. Black, white, male, female, you can be a jerk. Just reminded you.
Man, I think most white people and black people are great people. I really believe that in my heart. But I think our system is set up where our politicians, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, are designed to make us not like each other so they can keep their grasp of money and power.
Wait, what? Yes. Look at the issues. The issues aren't about being fixed. The issues are about finding the emotional point with the tribe that you represent, and then going out and talking about how, hey, there's a monster over there. The only way to defeat that monster, and I've got the secret sauce and I've got the magic to do so, is to make sure that I'm in a place where I can go fight that monster on your behalf. Right? So they're doing you a solid. Like, oh, man, that's super solid. But it's an ego thing, man. Like, if you don't have an ego in that business, I mean, there's some businesses where, like, you got to have some sort of ego to even think about trying those things. But it's about that power. And what does power want and crave? Power needs money, right? That's the fuel. On the other side of it, money in many cases needs to go to where the power is. And in doing so, what do? They've got to court that power because they want a little bit of that power, or they want the power to do a solid for them. He wasn't finished.
They divide and conquer. I truly believe in my heart most white people and black people are awesome people, but we're so stupid following our politicians, whether they are Republicans or Democrats. And their only job is, hey, let's make these people not like each other. We don't live in their neighborhoods. We all got money. Let's make the whites and blacks not like each other. Let's make rich people and poor people not like each other. Let's scramble the middle class. I truly believe that in my heart.
And he's spot on in so many ways. This is, we never listen to each other. We're not going to. Right? Because what happens is you can be concerned about something, but I can take that concern for it and turn it into absolute sheer terror in politics that will give me power. Yesterday I was watching Dan Crenshaw was on. He was on with Rogan, and he was talking about, we want to get to the point where we see stuff move forward and we see ourselves come together. We need to find the classical liberal. If you don't know what a classical liberal is, it isn't, don't confuse liberal, the word liberal, and progressivism with the classic liberal is anything, think more libertarian, right? More about freedoms. And conservatives. And he said something great. He said, with the classic liberal, you need them. Because the blind spot for a lot of times conservative is the fact that it's about the individual, it's about so many things, but they don't at times have the kind of empathy that you need unless it's in a certain area, and that things need to be addressed. And a lot of times the blind spot for the people on the classic liberal side is the fact that the empathy is big and they want to do a lot, but they end up really doing nothing, and that's where the conservatives come in because they maybe have a better plan. And that's so true. But there's no money in that. No money in getting it. It's a sad thing is we have a system right now where there's no money in actually finishing a job. I tell everybody, what politics is like? If you guys, anybody knows about the Winchester Mystery Mansion, right? So Winchester, the family, the famed family of the Winchester rifles. They have a mansion just outside of, I think, San Jose, California. And it is a trip if you go there. And they started building this house, and they built it for years. Sarah Winchester, she got $20 million back in the day. We're talking like 1881. So it's like $500 million, $600 million. But she thought, because she was into the, the dark arts, the occult, whatever it is, that because of what was going on, that she had to continue to build the house. She had to continue to do things. Otherwise, she was going to essentially die. So they built the house. By the way, the house, there was construction going on 24/7. They've got stairs to nowhere. It is 17 chimneys, 2 basements. They got elevators, floating foundation. I mean, they've got all of these things that you go and look, and you're just like, and it's amazing to go see the craziness. But it was around the clock, all the time, without interruption, from 1880-something to 1922. 38 years plus. It was crazy. But the whole thought process was, well, it's not about finishing the house. It's just about building the house, because that's where the money's at. For some of it's the same thing here. It's like, it's not about finding a solution. It's about keeping the problem and keep building over and over again and finding problems where there isn't problems, because that's where my power lies. And that's sad. And then people get involved and they use what they think is their voice to influence things that really shouldn't be, because nobody's actually interested in telling the truth. I mean, you go look at COVID's a perfect example of will we ever really know the truth about stuff? No, we can't even have a conversation about whether or not where it started and how it started. Because heaven forbid that you get a situation where, well, maybe Trump was right. Maybe there was an issue here with China. You think? But no, you do that, you're a conspiracy theorist. You're not interested in where this thing started? Well, no, because what if Trump was right? Okay, that's stupid. Right? Like, that's a dumb thing, What if the left is right about what's going on in Georgia? Well, have you even thought about that? Have you looked at the other side of things? Where if you're somebody where in some of these states where they're talking about, instead of having more places to vote, you're going to have less places to vote in some of these areas. Well, that doesn't seem fair. Doesn't seem right. But it's not about finding out any of that. It's about just affirming and continuing to push forward BS, because it's all about demonization of another side, making them out to be the bad guy or bad girl. Now we can say that. And in doing so, continuing to prop yourself up and giving you power. Because that's really what it's all about. It's how can you not have an ego? Like, I ran into the governor a little while ago for the state of Arizona. He's got people that come here 30 minutes before, do kind of a walkthrough. Right? They got the little IFBs in their ears. Eagle 1, Eagle 1. The Finch has landed. And then he's got 4 or 5 guys that travel with him, take notes for him, that do all these things. You don't think there's an ego trip in that? You don't think it's a smidge? So you got guys who protect you. You don't drive a car. You got people with you all the time, taking you places, doing things. It's power. Tough to unwind. COVID's one of those things. You see that now with the COVID. Nobody knew who Dr. Fauci was 18 months ago, outside of policy wonks and people who maybe inside of the gay community many years ago, because of AIDS and HIV and what he was as a pioneer and a guy who fought and looking for a vaccination, which apparently they're getting much closer to. But that was really kind of his claim to fame in so many ways. You don't think there's a little power in that? Every day you're on television? Power. It's all about the power. We need some power. Who could we vilify? I don't know. Not that I really would want to. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Home title lock. Speaking of power, houses are selling for just ridiculous amounts. Many of you listening have thought in the last couple of weeks, hey, I wonder what my house is worth. And you're like, wow, the house across the street sold for how much? Yeah. And then you start thinking about it. But do you realize that people steal titles all the time? And with housing prices the way they are, You're stealing people's future, their equity inside of their homes. Think about it. Your house is worth $400,000. You owe $100,000 on it, right? And somebody goes in and steals your home's equity by essentially selling the home to themselves through forgery. Not hard to do. And you don't find out for 6 months. And by then you've lost it all. Home Title Lock's there to prevent that. They'll alert you to anything that happens to your title, even if it's something as innocuous as somebody going in there from the title company saying, hey, we had to add a dot and I and cross a T. But you'll know about it. Right now, you wouldn't until it's too late. Try it for 30 days. See if you've already been a victim. Go to HometitleLock.com. Use code radio. HometitleLock.com, code radio. HometitleLock.com, code radio. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Cause of death hasn't really come up as yet because the medical examiner hasn't taken a stand. But we heard on opening statements, that is going to be the crux of the defense's arguments, to expand past what the prosecutor is saying this storyline is and found reasonable doubt between those cracks.
Yeah, that's it. In the Chauvin trial, what is going to be the thing that they are absolutely pinning everything on as far as his guilt or innocence, the guilt side of it, they're saying, we got the video, we've got all of these things. Look at this evidence in front of us. Look at this right here. Look at how there wasn't any aid rendered to him. Look at how there was, him doing that for 9 minutes, and everybody that's come here said that is an excessive force. And even the people that say, even if the arrest was right, he didn't roll him back over on this. And look at their Hail Mary is, can the doctor from the Hennepin County Coroner's Office, the medical examiner, in his ruling, Dr. Andrew Baker's, his ruling is it was essentially a massive heart attack. Well, if that's true, and that is to be believed, because that's all you're looking for is that doubt where, look, we've looked at the evidence, we've looked at the marking, because they're going to have all of those things. If that's true, then he's not guilty, if that's true. He could be guilty of excess force, he could be guilty of several things, but as far as the death, if it was because he had a massive heart attack potentially brought on by foreign substance inside his body from God knows what he had in there. They found meth there. They found, and they're going to bring up his blood alcohol. He's already talked about his girlfriend's been on there, and a few others have talked about, yes, they had issues with drugs. That's true. Well, then there's your doubt. But the other side's going to roll. They're going to come hard, and they're going to battle against that, the prosecution, and then they're going to bring up their medical witness, their expert, who's going to say, no, he was strangled to death. Well, he may have had a heart attack. It was only because of what was taking place around his neck and the knee in his neck that started a domino effect. It would not have happened had that not been Mr. Chauvin with his knee on his neck. So that's the battle that you're going to have. And that's what they're hoping for, is this giant, huge, massive Hail Mary will save Derek Chauvin. And it's always been about the medical examiner. It's always been about that. And remember, the ruling that first came out was he died of a heart attack. That was the cause of death. So that'll be the big one. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the show. We had a lot of fun. We do that on these shows. Check out all of our social medias and have fun with us. Look, I'm interested in the truth. I don't care what side's right. I just want to know what it is. And I think we need to get back in a way where we start actually listening to everybody else as they have, their complaints or their worries and their fears. And at the same time, hopefully, they'll give everybody else a chance to listen. And it's far more productive and entertaining if we start listening to one another and trying to come up with solutions than continually battling. Because right now, what's the definition of insanity? We're living it. It's doing the same thing over and over and not getting a different result. And I think we get that too much with politics. Have a blessed day. We got you over the hump. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.